Live from Trinity City Studios, it's the Dr. Brad Show. And now, here's Dr. Brad.
Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Brad Show. This discussion centers upon how to read the tells for an interview. You know, James from Kansas City emailed me and asked, "Hi, Dr. Brad. How can I tell if my interview went well or if I have a chance of being selected for the role?" Well, that's a good question, James. And, you know, during any person-to-person interaction, there are always what we term behavioral tells. What's a tell? A tell is a poker term which says that it's defined as a change in a player's behavior or demeanor that gives clues to that player's assessment of their hand. A player gains an advantage if they observe and understand the meaning of another player's tell, particularly if the tell is unconscious and reliable. The same applies to an interview. People engage in unconscious behaviors that provide possible insight into their thinking and perceptions. And unlike poker professionals, interviewers rarely fake tells since they have little reason to do so, or they don't have the knowledge to fake a tell, quite frankly. So I found that normally an interviewer's tells are inordinately reliable. So I know you're asking, what are those tells? Well, let's discuss what some of the tells are so that you know. First, as a candidate, the first thing you have to realize that a primary tenet of the job search is that almost everyone is lying to you. Interviewers are some of the most pervasive liars I have ever encountered, and peer-reviewed studies support this. They rarely tell the truth. Now, is everyone fall in that category? No, but 99% of them do. You know, they rarely tell the truth, so, you know, a candidate is left to try to decipher what they're thinking. I have no idea why they engage in all the subterfuge and do not want to tell candidates the truth. I don't know. Maybe it's because it's not easy to face a candidate and tell them their impression of their candidacy. Nevertheless, they should tell candidates the truth as a moral precept, but they rarely do. So the first thing is to go in with the interview knowing they're going to lie to you. They're going to lie to you. They're going to lie to you about a number of things. They're going to lie to you whether you're the good candidate. They're going to lie whether, you know, the corporation environment is collaborative. I mean, everybody lies. So that's the first thing. Second, if an interviewer hands you a business card after the interview, it is not a positive sign. Ask yourself, if the interviewer thinks you're such a great candidate and is going to go further with your candidacy, why would they need to give you a business card? Heck, man, they're going to call you. You don't need a business card. This is a way to feign interest and defer giving you the in-person Dear John by giving you a card and letting you know, if you have any questions, give me a call. You know, come on, folks. That's as obvious as the day is long. So if they give you a business card, I used to throw it out in the parking lot. You know, because it's such a dead giveaway. Third, if an interviewer is late, and I've had that happen, fails to initiate and maintain eye contact, it indicates disinterest and should tell you that you weren't important as a candidate. I mean, how would they like that if you did that? How are you doing? Okay. You know, would they think you're an adequate candidate? If the interview cuts the interview short, looks at their phone, or takes another call when interviewing you, not only is it rude, but it's also indicative of their thinking you are not important as a candidate. Fourth, if the interviewer goes on the offensive and attempts to put you in an uncomfortable situation, which we term an adversarial interview, this is indicative of them being a jerk, and you do not want to work for a jerk. Further, who would treat a candidate this way in the first place? It's not a good sign. Not a good sign. Fifth, the interviewer mentions that, and this is really a big one, folks, I can't overstate this. If the interview mentions that other qualified candidates are being considered, or that they are early in the interview process, or that they're going to take their time to refine the right fit, it's not positive. And this is indicative you are not going to be considered. Because if you were a top candidate, an interviewer should never tell a great candidate that others are being considered. I mean, even though it goes without saying, why would you say that? To make them depressed or demoralized or confused? And then, just saying that it's going to be a long interview process, that's another thing that's negative. And I mean, who wants to think that, well, I'll just sit here and wait 6 months until you make your decision? Come on, folks. And taking their time to find the right fit? Oh my God, that's a pie-in-the-sky employer if ever there was. They're looking for I term the Jesus employee. They were hoping Jesus walks through the door, the perfect candidate. Man, folks, if you were the right candidate, they wouldn't have to take their time, right? 6th, if it seems like they are reading your resume for the first time, oh man, they haven't prepped for the meeting, not for meeting you, right? They haven't prepped for meeting you. It's not a good sign. 7th, if the interview has few questions or provides little discussion relative to your skill set, it probably isn't good. 8th, if the interview repeatedly stresses negatives about the role, such as warning you that the job requires lots of travel, or this job requires you to work long hours, I don't know, they could be trying to drive you off. The interview may be attempting to put a damper on your enthusiasm to let you down indirectly. 9th, if the interview gives you a weak handshake after the interview or asks you to follow up with an assistant, you know what that means. 10th, and this is really true, everyone has that inner voice, that emotional intelligence, some stronger than others, admittedly, what many call God whispering in your ear. You probably know whether you were able to engage the interview and form an introductory bond, or whether the interviewer was aloof, distant, unengaged, disengaged. If you don't leave the interview knowing you did well, there probably was no engagement. It may not be you. Interviewing is a matter of personalities meshing, and it is only slightly skills related. I hope this helps. If you have any other questions, please feel free to email me. Thanks for listening. This is Dr. Brad. Bye now.